Today we are looking at the OM617 or OM617, depending on how you want to word those numbers. But it is a Mercedes-Benz 5-cylinder diesel. These came out in the 70s sometime, and then in the late 70s when they came out turbocharged. This is a turbocharged engine. I just don't have the turbocharger on it, but this is a T3 gasket that just comes right off the 5-cylinder manifold. So you have two over there, and then one over there. And then it just comes out here and you have your turbocharger here, and then that's the drain where it goes back down. So it is a turbocharged, and these came out late 70s, I want to say 79, maybe 78. And they stopped them in 85 because in 86 is when they went to the OM603 and OM602. Now, this pump or this engine comes with a Bosch MW pump. You can see the tag there, PES5 MW. So it's a 5-cylinder MW pump. 5.5 means it came with 5.5 millimeter elements. It's an MW type. So these right here are the elements. They come out that way. This is your ALDA. It's kind of like what reduces smoke when you don't have boost. It's a front sump, very large front sump. Your oil filter is back here, fuel filter there, and then on the front. This is the thing that I personally don't like about the 617s, and forgive me, this engine is very dirty. I need to clean it up. I'll probably do another video once it's clean, but I just wanted to get a video with the original pump so you can see what they come with. Any engine that you find is probably going to be in similar condition because they are 40 years old. You probably got it from a junkyard. So anyways, there's, oil down there. Yeah, it's ugly. But I wanted to show you kind of the ins and outs of it. So your starter is on the same side as the manifolds. This engine, one of the things that Mercedes improved upon with its successors is they did crossflow. This is not crossflow. So what that means is that your boost, your air comes in through here. This is just a log manifold. That's a fitting. Normally you have a turbo here and it comes on here, and then the boost or your air goes into the combustion cylinder on this side, and then it comes out the same side. Later they did crossflow with larger runners. Instead of like a log manifold, they did longer runners on the opposite side, and that improved it. So you have your alternator over here, starter on this same side. Normally the turbo goes right here. This is a T3 flange. There's your drain and there's your in. So it just sits right here and goes right into the intake manifold. No intercooler. There's your water pump housing. And this is what I personally don't like about these engines, is that they stick out. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's, what is that? It's like 10 inches at least that it sticks out. You can see there too from the engine. So your power steering pump takes up all that space. Your vacuum pump is huge. You have 3 different belts, 4 different belts, I believe. Yeah. There's 2 that go to the starter. Sorry, I'm getting a little too close here. 2 that go to the starter. And then if you look down here on the crank, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 different belt spaces. The one on the very top, sorry, this one, what can you see? That one goes to the power steering pump. It has its own belt. You have 2 that go to the starter with their own belt, and then the one in the middle right there goes to the AC compressor, which this engine does not have. Really dirty, sorry about that. The valve cover. This manifold is actually from a 606. Sorry, it's just sitting on the pallet. Forgot to move it when I made the video. Here's your oil filter and the MW pump, fuel filter, and that's your power steering pump, like I said. The injectors, they use the same style injectors as the 603, the earlier ones. The 602 have the same style, but they have the thread at the bottom. I have another video on that. But just a quick overview with the MW pump. These can be built with larger elements, but they're just not as desirable as far as like tuning, because Once it's on there, you can't do anything with it. It's just whatever pump builder says it to, that's the way it is. You can't adjust the ALDA, you can't adjust the fuel. You just put it on there and you're done. What we are going to be doing today is taking the MW pump off and swapping it for one of these M pumps. So these look a little bit different. They were only available on the naturally aspirated engines sold in Europe. And what's special about them is that they're an M pump instead of the MW, and they can be fitted with an external ALDA, which is this in this photo. The benefit of this is that it can adjust the fuel once you've installed the injection pump. With this screw, you can adjust your max fuel when you have boost. So boost from your turbocharger comes into here, and then you can say, when I have boost, I want 120 cc's or 150 or 90, and you can adjust that to your liking with this screw. And this screw back here is what you can adjust when you don't have boost. So you can say, when I don't have boost, I only want 40 cc's or 55. And so that's what's better about these, more desirable, is the fact that you can tune them to your liking. In the video that you're going to see here in a little bit, you're going to see an M pump, but it doesn't have the external ALDA installed, and that is because that pump is one that I had just barely built, and I wanted to test it on an engine before setting up the ALDA and shipping it to a customer. First thing you'll notice is it's a lot smaller. Not a lot, but it is smaller. I'm trying to line it up here, but it's a bit smaller. It's not as tall, not quite as big on the back. It's not as bulky either. But yeah, you can swap one on, swap on the other one. The MW pump is fed with oil through this pipe, which connects over here to your block. What you do when you put an M pump on there, sorry about the sun, is you just block that off, which I include with the pumps that I build, because the M pumps get their oil through the front, through right there. So they don't need. So yeah, there we have it. The OM617 is what I call it. It's the engine that kind of started it all, as far as the Mercedes turbo diesel. And I'll clean it up, get a M pump on there, and make a new video. But that's where it starts. Next up, we have what succeeded the 617, and that is the 602 and 603. We'll start with the 602. It is, you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cylinder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can count the fuel lines, the runners, whatever you want. And over here we have a 603. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these engines are identical for the most part, both in how they look. Just one is a 6-cylinder, one is a 5-cylinder. Okay. So obviously this is the same as the 617. That's 1 cylinder more. This is a 2.5. That is a 3.0. The 617, or sorry, the 603 came in a 3-liter right after the 617. So the first model year it came out was 86, at least in the States. These are all years and things in the States. Might be a little bit different in Europe. But later on, like the mid 90s, I want to say like 94-ish, they made a 3.5, and that was known as the rod bender. But I'll give you another look. So first thing that you notice differently is the intake manifold is on the right side of the engine instead of having everything over here on the left. and it has runners, and you'll see more runners on the next engines that succeeded these. The intake manifold on the 603, you can see it right here, it's a log style manifold just like the 617, but the bad thing about them here in the US at least is that they came with this ugly trap oxidizer, so it's just a bad layout for the exhaust manifold. You can see everything collects there in the log manifold, and then the out is over here by cylinder number 6, which is not a very good design. You know, you want it closer to the middle, so all the exhaust gases have to accumulate in here and come out here, then go up through this. I believe this is a trap oxidizer. It's just another emissions something, and here's your takeoff to the EGR, and then all this goes into a regular T3. If you're going to build these, it's better to get an aftermarket manifold or at least a Euro style manifold. Euro style didn't have this, so they just had a regular T3 flange come up in the middle, and then here you go, this is your stock turbocharger. It's a Garrett. That's about all I can tell you. Wastegated, pressure actuated. I don't ever do anything with the stock turbos, so I couldn't tell you anything about them. I always take them off and put on something else, you know, like a whole set or something. Front sump as well, and then they have this weird like extra cavity over here. And on one of my builds in this Toyota behind me, I remember, I want to say I took this off because I was like, well, I'll just take it off and make a plate, but I believe that there's something in here that you can't really take off, so it needs to stay that way. I'm sure Mercedes had their reasoning. Yeah, front sump all the same, and then like I was talking about the runners, so you have your turbo over here and it comes up here into this crossover pipe to the intake over there. The front, this is pretty stock. There's normally a what do you want to call this, a spring loaded damper, I guess you could call it, like an idle damper where the serpentine belt runs around and it also tensions it, helps it idle, and it has a spring, and I'll show you what it looks like on a complete engine. Fuel filter housing is different from the 617. The injection pump, they switched over to an inline M series. So these stock, you can read the label here. There we go. So 5.5C, that means it had 5.5 millimeter. Let me get it to focus. There we go. 5.5 millimeter elements, and this has a PES governor. So you can take a peek back there. It's partly off because I was working on this pump. Here's your rack. So normally you have your fuel tank in the back of your car. It comes up here, and standard on these, there is a fuel heater, which is what these hoses are for. And so your fuel will come into here, and there's a little device that goes on. I think it's mounted right here, I want to say, and that heats your fuel, and then it goes to a pre-filter, which is just those little inline filters like the 617 has, and then it comes into here. This is your lift pump, pressurizes it, sends it up here to the fuel filter, filters it, comes out here into the front, runs inside of here where all your elements are pumping off of a camshaft that's driven over here. I'll show you what that looks like. And then in the back of the pump, right there in that bolt, you have your return line that comes up here. And this goes back to your tank along with the return from the injectors. I took the injectors out of this one so you can get an idea of what it looks like. And over here is the 602, which is pretty much exactly the same. There's a couple little things that were different because it was sometimes in a different car. I believe this one came from a W124, and this one also came from a W124. But you can also find this in a W126 300 SDL, and this also came in a 190D along with the 300D. I don't know why they called it a 300D if it's a 2.5, but whatever. So yeah, this is what it looks like without the injection pump off. So the injection pump has the cam that sticks out that goes into this, and this is what it looks like on the front. So it slides it in here. You can see the splines in there, and that's what it gets on. And then on this side you put in a reverse thread, and then it has 3, you can see 1, 2, and 3. They're pins that slide through and they mount on, which are what these are. Okay, so this is the vacuum pump off. You have to remove it anytime you're going to do anything with the injection pump. So here is the vacuum pump. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else I need to tell you. They have a crossover pipe, and that's kind of a really good thing about an improvement that Mercedes did, is that they did a cross flow head. So air comes in here into your cylinder and then gets compressed and it comes out the back, so that helps improve flow, which is better for power. So this is a 2.5, like I said. I don't know the horsepower numbers off my head. I'll put links to all the Wikipedia, but I want to say this was like 120 horsepower stock, which is the same as the 617 with a whole liter more of displacement, or not a whole liter, a whole half liter more of displacement. This is a 3 liter. I want to say it's like 150 horsepower, somewhere around there, stock. Same thing, cross flow head, just one more cylinder. The manifolds look pretty much the same, just this one, instead of ending right here, it has this for the sixth cylinder, and this just has one less, so it's just shorter. And I'll show you, I guess I need to get a picture from the back. The starter is on the same side as the injection pumps, on the right side if you're facing the engine, which is different from the 617. The bolt pattern back here is the same on all the 60X, so 601 to 606, they all have the same bolt pattern back here. This has a better design. You can see the collector is in the middle. It's right here in the middle on number 3, so that's better because all the exhaust gases can meet in the same place and come out here. It's a T25 flange. And there's your EGR pipe. So I'll show you, I built one over there in that Toyota, so I'll show you what it looks like. And then here's your turbo. It's also a Garrett. I don't know anything about stock turbochargers once again, but I want to say that this is vacuum actuated. But yeah, no intercooler, so you just have your feed from your air filter coming in here, and then it compresses the air and goes up here into your cross pipe, into your manifolds, and down. And there's the back of your turbo comes off here, so a lot better design. You don't have everything collecting on number 6 and then coming up into the pipe like you do on that. And then this, I believe, is for, oh, it's not even tight. This is for, I believe, the cruise control. I can't remember. Like I said, I always just pull them and use them for swaps and testing injection pumps. So there you have 602 and 603 back to back. You can see they're almost identical, just one more cylinder. And in this Toyota, I put a 602. So I'll show you what it looks like. One second. Here you go. It's taken apart right now because I am changing the injection pump on it. I put in a 6mm injection pump. So what that is you can see it down there. It's a stock injection pump basically. They come with 5.5mm elements that are bad design, and I put in 6mm, so it's only half a millimeter bigger, but it's not talking about length, it's talking about diameter, so it has a better, it can inject more fuel, and the design is better. So it's set at 110 cc. And you can see what I did here. So I used the same manifold, just blocked off the EGR. Normally it would have the turbo, and then the pipe comes over here and comes into your intake manifold like I showed you. But what I did is I put on a whole set. This is a HE221, so it's a T25, bolts right up, no adapter, anything needed. And then I have it coming up into here, and then with the intercooler right there, and it comes out through here, up, and then into your intake. So it's always good to intercool no matter what. So that's my way of doing it. And yeah, there we have it for the 602 and 603. I really like 602s. They're shorter, like this very same Toyota. This is a second gen, so it's the same as the, it's like late 80s, early 90s. The 4Runners are the same. The engine bay on the 4Runner is the same transmission, same engine, blah, blah, blah. So this was a V6. Oh, I don't even have the emblem on here anymore, but yeah, it was a V6, so it has a better transmission, basically, R150F. But you can fit a 617 in here, but it's longer because of all the, it's longer, the block is longer as is, and then it has all the bands up here. Instead of running a serpentine, it has 3 different belts, and they're way longer, and it's just not as good as design, so they're harder to fit in things. So I really like 602s. The crossflow head is going to make more power. It's a half a liter less, but it makes the same amount of power stock. And these, when you add more fuel and more air, more boost, they can do about 300 horsepower on stock internals. And the 603 over there can do about 350 on stock internals. Some say more, but I don't know how reliable those numbers would be. Once you open them up, obviously they can do a whole lot more, but yeah, that's the 602s and 603s. I'm trying to think if I forgot everything, but that's it. The fuel filter housing is desirable because it's all banjo boats, and a lot of people like to put those on the next engines that we'll talk about, the 605 and 606. A note here about these engines that I had in my video. Normally these oil lines run off into an oil cooler that's up here in front of your engine bay and below the bumper. I just have them looped because I run these engines on stands to test the injection pumps that I make. And normally right here you have an AC compressor, and right here you have a power steering pump. But I just take them off because they're not used and they're in the way. And so your belt comes over here to an AC compressor pulley, up here to a power steering pulley, and then it comes down around this idler that I was talking about, up over here, over around your alternator, like that. So you can get a better visual of what it all looks like. And I think that is everything. They're both front sump, like I told you. These can be made reverse sump with I sell the sumps on my website. This is, you can use them from a 647 for the 602, the 5-cylinder, and a 648 for the 6-cylinder, and it's the same. They have the same belly oil pan for the 603, 606, and the same for the 605, 602. Yeah, that should be everything. The oil filter is back here. It's all aluminum. Your oil lines come off here. The feed, I'll show you on this one, the oil feed for the turbos, it's the same on the that's right there, same on the 60Xs. You get it from right here, and it just comes up and oils it, and then your drain just goes straight down to the block. This is broken here, but the original engine mounts you can see here, starter. What I do is I just bolt it onto right there so that I can run them on a stand. And really, to run them, all you need to do, this one's a little easier to see, but this screw is your 12 volts positive. This is your exciter, I believe is what it's called. So you just tap this on your positive terminal on your battery, and then you need to ground it out. So I usually use this bolt from the engine mount, but you can really get it from, if you want to use that one, the one on the start and the back, whatever. You just need to ground it out, and that goes to your negative, and then it will run. You just have a fuel source coming in right here of diesel, and then you have this right here is your drain back, and that's all the plumbing it needs in order to run it on a stand. I wish I had a battery, and I usually just have a jug of diesel down here in a battery, and I test them that way. Test out all the injection pumps that I make. This one, I believe, is going to be a super pump. So it's going to have, it has 8mm Mina elements in it. It's going to be like a 250 750cc pump, a lot of fuel. The one that I just took off this one was a 7.5. It was a mild, like 120 cc's what he set it at. It was capable of like 180, I believe. For the 605, that's the one I just sent to a customer. So yeah, I build the injection pumps with the bigger elements on the bench, test them, calibrate it, phase it, set up the governor, and then I put them on an engine to make sure everything checks out. You don't have any idling issues, sorry, like hunting or looping. The idle's not too high, so I can kind of fine tune them. That's why the back isn't even on here. Sometimes I need to take this one off too to check or change something. So there you have it. So here's a sample of what they sound like. And next up, last but not least, we have the OM606, which is by far the most desirable of all of them. It's a lot better looking engine, and I'll tell you more about it. So this is a 606. This is the 6-cylinder version. I'll show you the 605 next. It's just in a different location. But once again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's your 6 cylinders. You can see the runners are even longer. So the whole purpose of that is just give it more velocity to go into your engine, to the combustion chamber. So here you have a turbo. When I see these in stock form like this, I kind of, sorry the lighting's not very good, guys, there we go. I kind of laugh because the turbo is so small, but the engines are so capable. So in stock form, these were 170 more or less horsepower, I believe, 177. It's a little KKK K14. I don't know why they're called KKK, but you can see the triangular flange over here. Normally you have an airbox sitting right here in the car and it goes over there. But just so you can get a better view of everything, the manifold, the collectors are between cylinder number 2 and 3. And you have an EGR back here. I took it off and welded it closed. These are intercooled in stock form, so you can see the pipe right here points down. It goes to a pipe over there, and the intercooler is down inside there. And then it comes through the back of your engine, and sorry you can't see it, but this one's actually in the car. Yeah, you can see the pipe right there. The pipe comes up on the bottom of this, and you can't really see it, but you can see the EGR valve right there. There we go. And then it comes into here. Injection pump. It also has an M pump, but in stock form these came with EDC pump. So ED stands for electronic diesel control. It's basically a mechanical pump that is controlled electronically. So it has an ECU which sits over there, and here is your throttle. So this cable here runs from your pedal. It gets throttled, and that throttle goes to the ECU. The ECU reads that and other data and sends a, let's see if I can get it under here to where you can see it. Kind of sends it to your injection pump there. And that is a 606. So these are way more desirable. They can make, in stock form, they can make 450, 500 horsepower, give or take. And if you do a couple things like upgraded rods and springs, that's really all they need. The pistons are solid. You don't need to upgrade them. It's really just rods. and that's debatable as well. Then they can do more like 6. Some people even said 7. Claims up there of 1,000. I think that's stretching it. They probably have propane or NOS or some extra fuel source, and they fantastic engines. They're all, this is basically is a fully mechanical engine. All 3 of them are, except for, like I said, in stock form it comes with a electronically controlled. It's still a mechanical pump, but it's electronically controlled. But you can take off the pump that's electronically controlled, take it off, and put on a mechanical one from an OM603, and it'll be fully mechanical. I've ran these on a stand just like the other ones you saw many times. Very close to, you can't really see it, but very close in design to the 602 and 603. And I'll show you one 605 that is out of the car so you can get a better view of what they look like. But this is in its stock car. This is in a W210. That's what they came in. They also came in a G-Wagon. I believe it's a G463, or sorry, W463 or 96. That's the number that comes off of my head, that came with a turbo 606 in it, at least here in the US. And then 98 to 99 E300. So there you have it. They are all mounted. Ladies and gentlemen, here is a OM605, not a 606, 605. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cylinder. They just barely got here today from Europe. They were never sold in the US. EGR pipe. It's a 5-cylinder 606, basically, if that's a fair thing to say. So it has everything on it. Everything's real clean and good condition. Power steering, AC compressor, alternator, fan, the stock turbo, torque converter, oil filter housing, starter, motor mount, 5-cylinder EDC pump. So there we have it. 605 here in Texas.